During the COVID-19 pandemic, the world faced an unprecedented crisis. Businesses were shutting down, families were struggling to survive, and governments stepped in to provide relief. But in South Africa, something sinister happened. A 200 billion rands lifeline was thrown to save businesses, but not everyone was meant to survive. This is the story of how South Africa's banks deliberately sabotaged black businesses, locking them out of financial prosperity while protecting white wealth. This is not just a scandal, it's economic warfare, and it's time the world knew the truth. South Africa's biggest banks, Absa, FNB, Nedbank, Standard Bank, and others, were given a simple task: distribute 200 billion rands in COVID-19 relief loans to struggling businesses. But what happened next was nothing short of betrayal. Instead of helping those in need, the banks hoarded the money. They rejected black-owned businesses at every turn, while white-owned businesses received the lion's share of the funds. Out of 200 billion rands, only 15 billion rands was disbursed. And of that, a shocking 75% went to white businesses. Black businesses, they got a measly 25%. This wasn't an accident. It was a calculated move to keep black entrepreneurs down. The consequences were devastating. Black business owners were forced into bankruptcy. Homes, cars, and assets were repossessed. Families lost everything. And who profited? The banks. They watched as black businesses crumbled, then swooped in to profit from auctioning off their assets. This wasn't just negligence. It was economic sabotage, a deliberate act to maintain white economic supremacy in South Africa. Even when former Finance Minister Tito Mboweni called out the banks, they arrogantly ignored him. President Cyril Ramaphosa tried to intervene, but the banks didn't care. Why? Because they knew they could get away with it. Their excuse? The South African Reserve Bank required them to apply their usual risk assessments. But let's be clear, South African banks have never assessed risk objectively. In their eyes, black entrepreneurs are always too risky, too unreliable, too inexperienced. Meanwhile, white businesses get endless credit with no questions asked. And it's not just the banks. Even billionaire Johan Rupert's so-called 1 billion rands relief scheme mirrored this racial bias. 75% of its beneficiaries were white, while only 25% were black. This is how white economic supremacy is maintained, by ensuring black businesses are starved of resources, while white businesses continue to thrive. COVID-19 didn't just expose a health crisis. It exposed the truth about South Africa's banking system. A system designed to protect and expand white wealth while keeping black businesses under economic oppression. But the problem runs deeper than just commercial banks. The real enemy is the South African Reserve Bank itself, a privately owned institution that serves elite financial interests rather than the people. Until the Reserve Bank is nationalized and works for all South Africans, transformation will remain a pipe dream. Policies must be enforced to compel banks to lend fairly, and black-owned banks must be fully licensed and supported to break the stranglehold. This is not just about one failed loan scheme. This is about a banking sector that has never been held accountable, a financial system built to exclude black people. The COVID-19 loan scandal was just one of many tools used to maintain white economic dominance in South Africa. South Africans must wake up. We cannot allow this betrayal to be forgotten. There must be consequences. There must be structural change. The banks must be forced to serve all South Africans, not just the privileged few. The fight for economic freedom is not over. Now is the time to claim our rights.